Now these guys are taking pictures.
Yeah. It's getting real wild real quick here, Charles.
Yeah.
That's so annoying.
Good timing.
All right, so Charles, we're back in Union Square Park.
We are.
Not necessarily to cover this anti-lockdown protest, although there is one happening.
Yep.
How are you today, Charles?
I'm good, Jason. Thanks for meeting me here. And we've got a helicopter up overhead. I think it's good to maybe do a scan of the crowd with your video, including the two kids over there to the right, because I really do believe the more I watch the videos you've done and we've done together and other reporting, the more I believe that Antifa and BLM and other anarchists are doing their level best to try to hijack these type of protests. And they're much more dastardly and cunning, I think, than the people who are fighting to make the Constitution actually stand as the law of the land, instead of having it be replaced by UN disorder. Now there's somebody behind me yelling, telling us to go home. But before we get too deeply into it, I just want to congratulate the art department on yet another amazing poster. And we're really standing here on the edge of history, because by Wednesday, when you, I guess, may go on, and on the following Sunday when we go on together, we are going to know one way or the other. Either this is an epic failure or an epic triumph. And we'll cover today the various schools of thought that I think folks can rationally and reasonably project as to what will happen in the United States. But these are momentous days in history.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just, there's very obvious to me that there's a swarm of people, young people in black masks surrounding this thing who don't seem to have very good intentions, Charles. And, you know, I've been doing my best to control my temper and keep my mouth shut even when people push and egg. And I mean, they push.
Right. Very hard.
They really want to provoke a response, I believe, but...
Let's just walk down Broadway and make the show be more about what we see. The reason we're doing this is there are now signs of last night across the city in New York, in Brooklyn. This guy's, remember, kind of weird over to the left, Jason. So stay to our right. These guys, there were protests in Brooklyn, there were protests across Manhattan late into the night. Some of these protests were over the ways in which the police have in the past treated BLM protesters. And I gather that it really got violent over in Brooklyn last night.
I didn't see the videos, but you know, Letitia James has brought a lawsuit against the NYPD for exactly that. Right,
and so that's what these protests were all about. And I get the sense that the mood, despite the fact that in theory Joe Biden may in fact succeed in the steal, the mood is just getting rougher and rougher. Protesters put up a banner across Manhattan Bridge demanding that Biden protect all illegal.
How is that not an invasion? Just to have millions of illegal immigrants and then make them citizens, and now they have as much say as people who have worked for years to pay taxes and build this country?
Well, it really is the case. Actually, for those who are chocolate lovers in the audience, and I don't really like sweets, but this Max Brenner place that we walked by, you ever been there?
I have.
It's really a phenomenal place. They have these pipes of chocolate going around, and you get your milk chocolate or whatever kind of chocolate you want. Anyway, brief commercial for that company. I have no economic interest in it, but just thought I'd point.
That theater's been closed for 10 months, Charles. What do you think the cost of that real estate is? It's got to be millions in the toilet.
Well, not only millions in the toilet, but the cost of these flat screen TVs goes down, the quality of audio equipment goes up, cost of furniture goes down, cost of housing is plummeting.
Your customer base becomes accustomed to enjoying that product in a different way that maybe they like better now.
At home.
Right.
Right? And you don't have to wait in line, you don't have to have some slob eating a cheeseburger behind you and burping. as happened to my brother one of the most recent times. He was.
Oh, I thought you were talking about watching a movie at my house.
It would be a tofu burger at your house, right?
Never. Grass-fed.
Grass-fed tofu? I didn't realize that tofu ate grass. Anyway, that's how much I know about tofu. F you to tofu. But anyway, we're on this precipice here where, on the one hand, Joe is making plans. In a news flash just before he came on, there was a story, don't know if it's true, that supposedly the Biden transition team has been negotiating with the government of Iran. Now.
What?
Yeah.
How is that any different than what they
Michael
accused
Flynn
of doing?
I know. And it's just, I mean, the difference, I think, in the case of Flynn, let's see, he was as it normally happens during transition, I believe, it's a custom and practice that the incoming administration does meet with the outgoing administration and gets to understand what is going on, and as part of that reaches out to various important countries. I don't think the first thing they're going to call is the government of Somalia, but they'll reach around to the flashpoints in the world, and
they could say, hey, why don't you take Ilhan Omar back?
Take Ilhan and her husband. And the tax.
Does she have 2 or 3? Her brother, her husband, some other lady's husband. Get them all out of here.
But, so on the one hand, we have the possibility, the probability that Joe Biden will put his oath on the, what is it that the Satan worshipers use? It's not...
Baphomet?
Yeah, well, it's not the equivalent of a Bible.
Oh, I don't know.
He'll put his hand on his hand, rip out somebody's heart, eat it, and swear to Lucifer that he's going to uphold his responsibilities to continue to drag down this country in service to the Chinese Communist Party. But we have that probability that's a thing, and that may happen. And then we have on the other...
eating of the heart.
Not the heart part.
Charles the Grace Church.
Indeed. We'll go over to that side of the street, maybe. And then we have Then we have the other probability, which is looking dimmer and dimmer, as many different people, including a very nice person we were just speaking to, cite Sun Tzu and the Art of War, and it's an elaborate feint that Trump is carrying out here.
Well, this is the trust the plan contingent. I mean, people who are still trusting the plan. This is the worst plan ever, if this is the plan.
Well, to address that for a second, I think that that with regard to Sun Tzu, it actually is, if you've read Sun Tzu, these are Sun Tzu tactics. You make the enemy believe you're defeated and you're giving up, and then you, at the last second, once the enemy has shown all of his or her positions, their positions, you come in with overwhelming force and you crush them. And technically speaking, here are some anomalies that I see.
With what?
With Trump and where we are right now. In every case that we know about so far, that we've talked about in our various podcasts, where Trump says something that's outrageous, and the mainstream media then excoriates him, and Brian Stelter has a hissy fit, and and Jake Tapper barfs on himself, and everybody says that Trump's a 3-year-old. In every case in the past where he's done that, he's been actually proven correct, more or less.
But sort of proven correct, like a tree falling in the forest where
No, but just hear me out for a second. So he has said a couple of things he has not done here. He has not conceded.
Correct.
Which is interesting. He has not telegraphed, he has not issued a farewell address or scheduled a time yet for issuing a farewell address.
Fair enough.
And I am reminded of the incredible animosity that Trump has for Obama, and the feeling is mutual. So if you'll recall, when Jerry Corsi, when word leaked out that Jerry Corsi was going to do a book about where's the birth certificate, I know, because I spent a lot of time with Jerry in that moment, that he was constantly speaking to Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, we know...
Really? I thought he said that he's never spoken to Trump.
No. Constantly. He said I'm very sure of that ground.
Huh.
And I was with him. You know, I was.
So why did Trump stop talking to him when?
Well, let's just stay on this
yeah.
particular point. So, if I may, where's the birth certificate? Donald Trump seized on it. He had got a lot of crap in the mainstream press for raising the questions during the campaign. He basically didn't throw Jerry off the back of the bus, but he didn't stand up for him the way he should have stood up.
Right.
He should have said, look, at the time when the subject first came up, I raised the kind of questions that the mainstream press refuses to raise when there's any serious controversy that implicates them. And the questions I raised at the time were reasonable. Some of them remain unanswered with regard to hard evidence. That's the kind of answer I would expect out of Trump. But going back to that moment in 2011, what was it? I think 10 or 11, whenever the book was issued.
That sounds right.
Drudge.
They said it was a 5-year investigation.
Yeah, I think it was 11. So Drudge had a red siren, and I think they said the publication date was going to be a certain date, and I forget what it was. It was a Tuesday.
Publication of the birth certificate.
Of the book.
Of the book.
Of course, he was scheduled that night, Tuesday. The book was going to be published to be on Hannity.
Oh.
And the weekend before, immediately before the publication of that book, on I think Friday, a lawyer dispatched by Bob Bauer of the odious law firm then Perkins Coie,
who now represents the Obama library, right?
I don't know if they represent the library, but they represent the Biden campaign.
Biden campaign.
Yeah. And Mark Elias, who's another partner there, top partner there, junior to Bob Bauer when Bob was still there. Anyway, the lawyer comes back theatrically from Hawaii and says in the Oval Office to Bob Bauer and others, here's what I got. And instead of producing a physical birth certificate,
PDF document,
they produced an electronic version of a file that you wouldn't need to fly all the way to Hawaii to get.
That also would not have originated as a PDF because it was made in 1961.
Right.
And PDF came out in like 1988.
Right. So, not to belabor the birth certificate controversy, because that's not the point of what I'm saying. The point is that the White House counsel in question, the senior White House counsel, Bob Barr, resigned on the spot in that meeting, that morning. Well, I think because he knew that what was being presented to him was not proof that would support Obama's case. I think he just didn't want to be in the position of taking, I'm just guessing, a federal salary
to lie.
To lie, yeah. I just think that was an unwinnable place for him to be. So he stepped down.
That was not the NYU bookstore before.
Well, I can't help you with that.
But now it is. Anyway.
Yeah. So this is on the Friday before the Tuesday when the book was supposed to be published, from memory. On Sunday, and Obama, of course, came out and said, see, here's the birth certificate. I authorized my counsel to do this. And interestingly, in his book, what he says, and we talked about it when I had to reach into my pocket and go and take out a gigantic loan to buy the book for $45. Well, I could have just bought a dictionary and
put all the words together yourself for free?
Well, no, just look up I, because like on every page is I. Anyway, Obama says, and maybe he lied in his book, and his editors didn't catch it, he says in his book that he made the decision to dispatch his lawyer to retrieve the copy of the birth certificate that was in the library, in the bound volume in the library. He says that.
But that's not correct.
I understand that. So, anyway, on Sunday, perhaps sensing that Jerry's book was going to cause a furor, they had the very theatrical
Bin Laden
capture, thing, right?
I met Dennis Tito that day.
Who is son of Joseph Tito?
I don't know about that, but he's the space tourist.
Oh, no. I didn't. No, Joseph Tito was the legendary dictator of.
I don't think so.
Somebody Tito.
He's a big financial something.
No, this is a different person who was a dictator of Yugoslavia.
I don't think that's the guy.
Anyway, so
wait, look at this.
Yeah, they make the announcement that that Obama bin. I genuinely just said Obama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden and Obama bin Biden, no, Osama bin Laden.
Obama bin lying.
Yeah, Obama no lion. Anyway, that Osama bin Laden had been captured in a raid in Pakistan and buried according to Islamic practice by throwing him at a helicopter into the ocean, which is not Islamic practice. As far as no.
Muhammad didn't go that way?
Right. Yeah, first you get in a helicopter, first you get on your flying carpet, no, that's not right. Anyway, so the reason I bring all this up and recounting the gory detail that we've just gone through is this theatrical stuff happened on a Sunday, just like today. And you remember the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I forget when it was, whether it was right around that time.
Where Obama was making fun of Trump.
Didn't make fun of him.
Landing.
Well, no, Trump was in the audience.
Right.
And he basically, this is, I think, after the birth certificate controversy in theory was resolved.
Right.
And Obama theatrically took out his microphone at the end.
And dropped it?
And he said, well, if Donald Trump really wants to do something about this, maybe he should run for president, drop the microphone. And Donald Trump was really, I've never seen him.
Steamed.
He looked really cheesed off, as they say in English. He was pissed. And so if Donald Trump might be somebody who theoretically could carry grudges and might be somebody who's a real showman.
He is.
There is a possibility, it looks very low to a better, but there is a possibility that he does have something that he's going to drop tonight or tomorrow. It's possible.
It is. I'm not saying it's not. And I'm also not saying it's over. I've been saying the whole time, we're in the hospital.
Right.
The Trump presidency is there.
It's flatlining.
The tent, the machine is beeping. We're not leaving until it stops beeping, but there hasn't been a motion from the patient in weeks. Well,
and so for that though, given the pace at which this man has operated through his presidency, right? I mean, he's hardly ever sleeps.
Right.
I'm amazed he keeps his family together because he's just always in meetings, always flying, always doing rallies, always taking phone calls.
Right.
And he did, to be fair, get a lot accomplished that people said could not be accomplished. So to have a furious, positive pace of accomplishment up until January 6th, and then ever since January 6th to go stop, reverse, is anomalous. Now, a negative scenario might be that his top advisors have come to him and said, listen,
game over.
Yeah, you're fucked. And so he's negotiating for some sort of a deal, which probably won't hold up. That's one scenario. Another scenario is he just can't bring himself to admit defeat. And he's waiting till the last minute, and he's going to go out in a fit of pique. But a third scenario is that he does have...
Long live Doom.
That's an actual very good likeness of Joe Biden.
Well, it's Dr. Doom.
Huh?
I mean, I think it's supposed to be Dr. Doom.
I know, Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Schmo Biden. So
maybe he's got nothing planned, then he's just...
But it just would be so unlike him. I mean, it would be... There's to go through the possible scenarios. I mean, maybe he's been told he's got 10 days to live. And he's like, okay.
Well,
I mean, wow, that's a nice smell, whatever that was.
It smells like gas leak.
Yeah. But it's just so unlike him to go silent.
Right.
To put up with the notion that Osama bin Dorsey and the gang of oligarchs out in Silicon Valley and elsewhere can stop him from mass emailing and solicitation and Twitter and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. Just take it. Because the message that is sent by that act is that suddenly no world leader is as powerful.
Right, they're at the mercy of these schmucks in San Francisco.
Yeah. And I don't think that precedent can stand or should stand. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, progressive, independent, or non-aligned.
I agree. I'm tremendously disappointed that there hasn't been a substantial act by Trump to reverse that, particularly given this kid, John Sullivan, who his own brother said he's the leader of that mob. The video shows that he's leading the mob. He's at the tip of the spear. He's there when the Air Force woman, Ashley Babbitt, is allegedly shot and killed.
Right.
His father, that we haven't heard anything about, even though the Washington Post did do an article about John Sullivan being released on GPS ankle monitor, I didn't see them say anything about his adoptive father,
Right.
Kevin Sullivan, being an Air Force general. Very strange that the son is right there recording the death of an Air Force person.
Right.
And he was reprimanded and later resigned for the mishandling of transportation of nuclear warheads to Taiwan. That sounds like a pretty serious thing to be reprimanded for.
Excellent mentor.
Right. I mean, what the hell is going on over there? There's been no investigation into this, just a charge to impeachment. This kid still has Twitter, but the President of the United States doesn't. How does Dorsey explain that? He's defending the move like, oh, well, we can't have people inciting violence on there. Why don't they shut down all the Antifa accounts?
Right, exactly, not just on Twitter.
And if they're not going to do that, why doesn't Trump and the Department of Homeland Security say Antifa are terrorists? This is one of the things Facebook and Twitter are tools that they're using to plan riots and to show their activities, and they're being seized by the government and shut down as criminal organizations.
Right, and all of these ideas are excellent. And when I talk to people on how I think about it, I mean, it's one thing to have an idea, it's another thing to implement the idea.
Ideas are cheap, it's the follow through.
Yeah, and you've got, I mean, it should be no surprise that tomorrow's a federal holiday. We still don't have D-class as of 2:30 p.m. today.
What would that do if they declassified stuff now? Wouldn't it all just be a bunch of evidence that Joe Biden's Department of Justice would ignore?
I don't know. It's probably scatter it pretty far and wide to people who could try to do something about it. But it certainly seems after the Sessions ridiculous decision to recuse himself, after the ridiculous appointment of none other than Bob Whiskey Breath Mueller, Whiskey Veins Mueller, and then the PSYOP theoretical prosecution or investigation led by Huber that resulted in nothing, Durham, nothing to date, and Barr promising something and then leaving with nothing. I mean, there have been so many disappointments that it certainly does look as if a team that was determined that Trump would be defanged succeeded.
It looks that way to me.
And that team, if we're free and not in some gulag by next Sunday, under that scenario, if that team gets away with the steal, get ready. I mean, they've stolen the nation's, let's say, car fleet, and now they're going to come for whatever gold may be in Fort Knox and everything else. I mean, having gotten away with this for 4+ years, in the face of a situation where the president was Donald Trump and not
a supporter, Charles.
Is he?
I don't think so. He's just
he wants to be on the
popping
podcast.
off,
Yeah. Having gotten away with all this, they're going to say, all right, what do we do next?
Right. It's already clear what they're doing next, because when the criminals know that the cops aren't going to do anything, when the leftists know that their fake president is going to demand that everybody wear masks, I wanted to kind of mention this, not to blow the flow there, but the city has just become so oppressive, Charles. I mean, in my own apartment building, now multiple occasions where jackasses are yelling at me to wear a mask.
Right.
And it's really bad.
I think you should refer to them as mask asses.
Jack Matt?
Or Jack Mom mask asses.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to come up with a name for them, but it's just so oppressive. And I mean, people can see as we're walking around, I'm trying to highlight more businesses closing. Speaking of jackasses, the governor now says, oh, you know what? We need to open up. Forget about the virus. It's too much of a risk that the economy will be destroyed.
A French dog.
What is it?
I think, isn't that a French poodle?
Maybe, I don't know. Ask it if it speaks French. It's an interesting haircut.
Yeah, for the poodle.
For the poodle, yeah. I think they're supposed to be mean, those kind of poodles.
I don't know.
Or vicious.
I think if you step on them or bite them.
Yeah, I'm not a big poodle, but here's a little guy with a jacket. But yeah, definitely. I think he got it from the IKEA monkey after they arrested him. I know that guy was wearing shearling.
Was he?
The monkey was, yeah. That's a sad story. But back to the serious stuff. The city's become oppressive. it's not only no fun, it's, I mean,
well, it's in a toilet bowl downhill
it's just
flush
constant
spiral.
antagonism, you know, risking.
And here we have a bunch of little kids, junior high school kids, and let's just keep our eye on them, because these are the guys who have no sense of right, wrong, or anything, and could give us a little bit of trouble, maybe. So yeah, in New York, there's an excellent piece. So by the way, I held true to my pledge not to use Twitter.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm not tweeting. And Parler's still out. And I've been busy doing some other things. But I noticed before I gave up on Twitter that Zero Hedge has been gamed now to make it harder to tweet directly off Zero Hedge.
What do you mean?
So maybe it's some quirk on my phone, but when I pull up Zero Hedge and I'm on Twitter constantly, haven't logged off of it yet, I then try to tweet on a story out, like the story about New York, and Zero Hedge protocol says, please sign into Twitter. You're not signed into Twitter.
Huh.
But
you are.
But I am. So I don't know what that's all about. But anyway, the New York story explains, with regard to data that is I think proves the anecdotes that we've been talking about, that the key vital signs of this great city are, you know, they're worse than flatline. It's like whatever level is below fuck beyond oblivion, that's where we are. So you have rents, which normally are very high and always going up, rents plummeting.
Yeah.
You have retail prices plummeting and residential sales plummeting and prices plummeting. You have epic record migration out of the city, record business closures, much lower foot traffic through stores.
Record like since the advent of New York City, probably.
Right. And violent crime spiking here and in other cities. And all the above happening at the same time causes the average business person
to not want to invest here.
To not even want to fly over New York State, let alone land a plane and encourage employees and others to take the risk of trying to get business done in this hellhole shithole.
Taking selfies in front of abandoned, closed, empty businesses.
Yeah, so we're walking now downtown on Broadway, which...
Well, but staying on the point you're on, Charles, I've announced to the viewers that I'm leaving New York. As much as I don't want to, I can't change what's going on. My personal safety is at risk every single day.
Did you tell me about that?
I told you about that.
Oh, that's right. I'm getting old. I forgot.
So, as you know, Charles, I've financed a car. I have it now.
You got a good interest rate
I mean,
on
it's amazing. I don't understand how this works.
Or was it a Bentley?
Zero money down, zero interest. That seems stupid to me, but I'll take a free car.
Well, I think the reason is that on many of these cars, they make less money off the,
But how do they make money from a loan?
Well,
if it's
a tied sale, basically. What they do is they say, okay, the interest rates are so low anyway, we'll give you no...
Just to incentivize
the purchase. The price of the car is going to be higher.
Hide it in there somewhere. Well, it was a good price. It's a modest car. I was thinking, Charles, about starting a new YouTube channel that will cover things that aren't maybe so political, because, you know, Crowdsource the Truth is also in danger of being totally eradicated from YouTube. You could
call it Crowdsource the Car.
Crowdsource the Car. We could call it, you know, that tall guy, George, he's got a brother who's constantly suing me. He also, when he's not writing hundreds of pleadings that seem to irritate the court based on their latest orders and recommendations and reports, when he's not doing that, he's writing to YouTube to try to get the channel terminated. People who are watching us right now are watching on Crowdsource the Truth 2 or Crowdsource the Truth 3. I do want to thank people who have subscribed to Crowdsource the Truth 3, Charles, because in the first month of its operation, it's exceeded 2,000 subscribers, which is great performance. But it's also going to be very helpful moving forward. People who watch it enjoy the show. If you can become a sponsor on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, that's going to be really important too, because Crowdsource the Truth 2 is also hanging precariously by a thread and could be deleted at any moment because of these malicious actions being taken by social engineers.
Right.
So I'm thinking about calling this new YouTube channel Escape from New York, because the car that I got is a Ford Escape. Very appropriate.
Careful.
Yeah,
escape from the
escape
shitoli.
from dog shite.
Yeah.
And but I'm going to be going, Charles, on a nationwide road trip to basically tour the downward spiral of the United States of America and try and find a Second Amendment friendly state where I can reside. In addition to the NYPD openly refusing to defend Tara Sapansky, the defenseless former Miss New York model, or maybe she was Miss New York, they wouldn't defend her. And now they've introduced legislation where it's going to be a felony to have body armor. Why would they do that? I could understand having it be a felony to commit a violent crime with body armor, add on the charges. But if you're just an innocent person walking around with no weapons and just afraid you might get shot or shrapnel might hit you, why can't you wear body armor?
I know. I mean, it's not. It's wasn't the I think the tourist slogan for New York at one point in New York State was "I love New York."
Now it's duck.
It's I loathe New York.
I don't want to. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're right. The other thing, Charles, you know, in the interest of Kaizen, I've made 2 significant changes to the show today.
What's that?
Well, I don't know. Originally, I wasn't going to mention this because I felt it fell in the category of unimportant. Certain things that I'm interested in that might be boring to you, but I've changed my mind. It might be important. AT&T just introduced a new type of data plan where, for less money now, I'm getting 50% more data for 20 bucks less per month. So maybe we now know what's going on with all this Verizon fiber going into the ground. It seems like they've been,
let's just stand for a second. Keep going.
Well, whether 5G or 4G, they're preparing for dramatically more network bandwidth, and so now it's a little less expensive. Our show now is going out in HD, even from outside here, Charles.
Wow. Well, now look across the street. Look at this. We've shown this area before with the various vendors of Gucci and Louis Vuitton. Look at the number of them blocking the street. Look at the graffiti on these stores.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Let's stay on this side of the street, though.
Yeah.
And you know, what happens when you allow this? And watch the skateboarders here, Jason. When you allow this kind of stuff to happen, the word spreads, and people say, well, if you know this guy from Mauritania can do it, then my cousin from Somalia can do it. That's really funny. And and so you get a swarm like this. I mean, this is Canal Street. If we keep going this way, here's the police. Of course, they're doing absolutely nothing.
That's their specialty.
I think there are some good line police officers and even good administrators, but this city, protect and defend, I don't think that applies to the people. I think it applies to the Antifa thugs.
Well, I'd like to say something that might surprise people, actually in defense of the NYPD.
All right. We can wait.
Well, this week, New York Attorney General Letitia James introduced a lawsuit against the NYPD for their, what she categorized as their violent response to the protests over the summer. And obviously, that's going to cause them to not have confidence that they can proceed with enforcing the law against violent mobs. Now, look, if somebody's selling cigarettes on the corner and you strangle them and choke them out and kill them, that's definitely excessive force.
Right.
But if you have a mob that's trying to burn down and destroy the city, that has to be met with violent force, because they're obviously not going to understand.
Or overwhelming force.
Overwhelming force, that's what I mean. Overwhelming force. That's what it needs to be met with. So she's basically neutering the NYPD, and even if that's not the official order, any individual on the NYPD who knows that they're going to be susceptible to lawsuits, I mean, why don't they just resign? Because they want to collect the checks, I guess, but this is the problem that we're having.
Yeah, it's really
dangerous.
It's as if de Blasio and Cuomo and the team, and I gather there's an election this year, de Blasio's term limited out. So there's some guy, Scott, is it Stringer or Strickler or something like that?
Well, it's Andrew Yang is running.
Oh,
I'm getting vibration in this handle of this thing, so maybe there's some electric interference coming.
Yeah. Andrew Yang is a complete lunatic.
Well, his platform is communism. It's universal basic income,
Right.
which is going to enable people who have a lot of time on their hands to get paid to destroy the city. Here, Empire Luggage is now Empire Disinfectant and Mask. Although you could
Look
get
at
a
this.
Stormtrooper suitcase.
Fall Raven.
Douchebags.
How do you trademark that?
Douchebags? That's a gift I'm going to get for some people. And just, hey, here's your douchebag. That's great. How do you trademark that? The Massengale lawsuit is going to put them under.
I mean, that's the kind of thing I'm sure there are 5 different teams in Ivy League university graduate school programs now going to submit dissertation requests for grant money to write a PhD thesis on. How do you trademark the word douchebag? Well, I've consulted 700 other papers that are peer-reviewed. Now, wind is picking up.
Yeah, it's funny because it was like 45 when I was leaving, and I was thinking, well, that's appropriate. But now it feels colder.
Yeah. Well, we're supposed to get that polar vortex coming. It's.
Oh yeah, when?
I don't know. It's this week, I think. Maybe right now.
Yeah, it's like bing, come right in. So Charles, I mean, leaving New York is not something that I want to do, but it literally has become so unpleasant, daily life. Just people, you know, when they don't openly, you know, start a conflict by telling me what to do.
Right.
It's just the nasty stares, and I mean, you can't go anywhere, you can't enter any stores. It's just terrible.
The things that made New York special have all been eliminated. And the problem with the approach that folks have taken here, it's not the pandemic that has done this. It's the fact that the world understands now the Constitution of the United States of America doesn't mean anything. It's
being laughed at.
Experts rule the world. Experts are going to tell you what to do.
Communists.
ACAB, all cops are bad, cops kill. And we've taken it. We, the sheeple, have taken it. And now there's a peer-reviewed study, which I think is supposedly a good one, saying that lockdowns didn't help. Face masks don't help.
They make it worse. I mean, isn't that obvious after 10 months? I've used this analogy before. If you had an infection on your arm and you were putting cream on it for 10 months and it didn't go away, it got worse, would you say, let me get some more of that cream? Or would you go do something else?
Yeah, ask Joe Biden. He said, can I have some more cream, please?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You don't need to be a doctor to know this stuff.
Yeah, well.
But Charles, the number of serious injuries from the vaccine is also increasing.
Skyrocketing, yeah.
And people I was over at the Javits a few days ago. People are fighting each other to get in there, to get it.
Yeah.
And is Biden going to mandate it? They're saying mask mandate. What?
It's, it's Biden's own words. It's okay. Excuse me. I mean, Biden's own words. The dark days lie ahead.
Dark winter.
Yeah.
We're in it.
Gee, Joe, that's great.
I mean, listen, this is also honestly a major reason why I bought that car, is that I realized if we have something like a polar vortex, the bicycle was a good idea during the summer. I could have gotten out of the city on a bridge or something. But if it's like snowing, I mean, the reason why I will need to leave the city is that my apartment becomes uninhabitable within hours of no electricity because the water can't get to the apartment. So I wanted to have a strategy for, you know, exfiltrating the city if it became a real emergency, and this was the best one that I could think of.
Yeah. So we're now sort of in the middle between the Wall-Fi-Dye, the financial district, and Village, or Soho, NoHo, whatever you want to call it. And when foreign buyers, i.e. people not familiar with New York City, could be suckered into a per square foot argument that these buildings are big, ceilings are high. Watch it, this guy's. Just don't get his attention. He's absolutely shit-faced. But
that dude's crazy, Joe.
He's straight up crazy. So people got suckered into buying lofts in this area. There are some very beautiful modern buildings you can see to your right and all the way down. But this has now become a dangerous place. I mean, here we have, get your garbage, or as we say here in New York City, garbage. I mean, look at this.
Yeah.
Under no scenario does it make sense to leave this much garbage on the street for long periods of time. A lot of times they put this out on a Friday and they pick it up Monday.
Just let it rot and fester.
Right.
We got a lot of these things too, where they've just, brought to you by the New York City Department of Destruction.
This is, infrastructure project.
They're just busting up the place.
Yeah. And I think isn't this Federal Plaza or close to it?
Well, I don't know. This is some Jacob Javits federal building, I think.
Yeah.
Well, that over there is the courthouse.
Right. Maybe we should cross the street to actually walk on a sidewalk.
I'm getting a lot of low-level vibration on the handle of this right now.
Well, probably because there's all kinds of.
Yeah.
I think the FBI is in that building, aren't they?
That is. Yes, you're right. That is the FBI.
So they're busy.
The distant one over there.
Okay. So the FBI currently is busily ignoring all the evidence of election fraud because there is no evidence, according.
How about evidence of who really created that insurgence? I mean, we keep hearing there was a woman from CNN with John Sullivan while he was inside there,
right.
And he was immediately interviewed by CNN. So, I mean, did CNN have foreknowledge of this?
They did.
How is that not being discussed? How is that not
on.
Splashing across the headlines, stopping the impeachment in its tracks, getting that network shut down as participating in an insurgency? I mean, they're just laying it all on Trump. This is exactly what they do. And when I say they, I mean social engineers, opponents of what we're trying to do. They stage hoaxes and they blame it on the target.
This used to be a McDonald's.
Wow.
Right before the pandemic. And I mean, it's pretty big. When I went to McDonald's, I used to come in here and have coffee when I was going downtown.
That's surprising that a McDonald's would be closed.
Here, I mean, you got all these government workers. I guess they don't show up anymore, but you need a place to eat. McDonald's is right there. Here's a poor guy. We don't need
pizza place out.
We don't need to focus the camera on him, but he's standing in front of a 7-Eleven. And we have de Blasio saying New York City is the greatest city in the world. I suppose compared to what? I mean,
historically,
Karachi.
I mean, right? He's destroyed it.
Yeah. I mean, what's going to be next? They're going to say, well, the real problem is that it's a white privilege to have sewage go in pipes. We're now going to just put it out on the street. Go back to medieval England. Just throw your stuff out the window, and we can manage the city sustainably.
So that's what I mean. I've just, I've been confronted with the reality that this is a city that no longer abides by laws, and it's mob rule, and the mob is against us. So rather than fighting that every single day, I got no choice but to go.
Right. Well, sorry to see you go.
Me too.
But for the moment, I'm hanging around. Although I have put into higher gear my plan to look at various alternative places to have a compound. So I do think it's come to that. I don't think you can rely, particularly if Biden gets across the line here, I don't think you're going to be able to rely on police departments to protect you. If you live in a rural area, you can forget that, unless you're in a red county.
But I think that those places sort of already understand that there's a certain degree of that, and people have guns, and there's a degree of not messing with other people because you acknowledge that they probably have a gun.
Right, right. But I'm just saying you move into a very different zone where Mike Bloomberg with his concealed carry permit and his security detail.
Concealed carry?
Oh, yeah.
How does Mike Bloomberg have that?
Well, because he needs it. Gun control for everybody else, but not for him.
That's crazy.
No, that's standard. That's what these pukes all want. And so I used to buy the argument pre the BLM rallies and combined with the pandemic that here in the city, particularly in my neighborhood, you didn't really need to have a gun because people would move so quickly. Whenever there was trouble, a few times I've called the cops, they've zoomed right in.
Huh.
You want to walk around this? Or?
Well, yeah, let's wait
for the
City
light
Hall,
though.
right?
Yeah.
Now wait, oh, Modell's. Yeah, that was going out of business the last time we were here, and I guess it's out now.
It doesn't look in.
Not at all. But this is City
go?
Hall. Nothing really going on there.
Okay.
What? I don't understand why.
Oh, there's a little kid on the back. I didn't see that.
Yeah, that's
really sensible.
on the sidewalk with an electric bike.
What could go possibly wrong? I remember when I spent all that time in India in a city called Bangalore. This is a beautiful road compared to the roads there. You'd be driving along at high speed, and all of a sudden, some cows would show up in the middle of the road, and all the traffic would stop, and then it would start torrential rain, and then you'd see a family of 7 people on one of those bikes.
On one moped, yeah.
Right, 5 kids clinging to 2 parents, and they moving at pretty high speed in the rain.
Well,
what used to be a family of 10, I suppose, but now that's
slowly attrition.
We were here in the summer, I think, when there was a demonstration right in front where they were basically trying to occupy this. Remember?
Yep.
And they had people up on the steps there, and they had graffiti everywhere. You could see the signs that's been repainted in places.
Yep.
And nobody declared an insurrection. Nobody said that de Blasio, who
they didn't
encouraged,
even make them leave.
Well, de Blasio encouraged, remember, the riots? He sided, famously saying that could have been Dante, could have been his son Dante, could have been a victim, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, Charles, it's just brazen. It's ridiculous how they're ignoring the number of Antifa that were there on the ground. You and I spoke to them. They've published videos now. This guy, John Sullivan, there is no question that he is an Antifa leader. His own brother says he was the leader of the whole riot,
right?
Which sounds difficult to believe, but I've watched a lot of videos on this kid's YouTube channel. There's no doubt he's a troublemaker. And the thing that was so surprising to learn is that he's from this family where, I mean, look, I can't obviously relate to what it's like to being adopted, but being adopted by a military family that provides you with a home, and I don't think it's inexpensive to train to be a speed skater, and he went to the Olympic trials or something like that.
Wait a second, African-American speed skater in Utah?
That's got to be the only person in that sport, and I'm not saying that to be racist. Anytime I've gone to Utah, there's literally like no black people whatsoever there. So I'm sure that was difficult for him socially, but the point I'm getting, hopefully we've recaptured the broadcast there, Charles. Let me check and see if we're back. I've got this new mode where hopefully it carries on.
There's a lot of, I mean, we're right near, this is City Hall, this is the main administrative set of buildings here, so there could be all kinds of interference with courts.
Let's just see if it picked up again. We're walking down the street somewhere here. I hope we haven't, it says buffering. I think it came back.
Good.
Yes, we're back. We're back to live. So
we'll head.
We're going to stay with us, everybody.
Yeah,
here.
we're going to head now down into the canyons of Wall Street. I'm going to take you down William Street.
But real quickly, just back on John Sullivan. This should be the biggest deal ever. His lawyer, the prosecutor, did not. Wow, look at that Maybach SUV. Who knew they even had it? The prosecutor flipped out and said, there's no way that you can release this guy. He's inciting riots.
Right.
That's what he does. He's dangerous. He should stay in jail. And they said, no, give him an ankle bracelet.
Give him a Nobel Prize. Give him a book
an
contract.
Ankle bracelet.
Make him a senator. He can replace Romney.
But what his defense attorney said, the prosecutor said, if you're going to let him out, he can't use social media. And the judge agreed to that, but his lawyer argued, oh no,
it's a First Amendment right.
Taking his First Amendment right. So I'm like, wait a minute. So the President of the United States can be taken down from Twitter.
Right.
But Jaden X, real Jaden X, John Sullivan, who they're using his alternate social engineering name, Activist John, right. Jaden X. See, look at all these guys, how they have these fake names.
Right. Aliases.
You know, aliases, and you know, this kid should not be out of jail. No. He should be charged with sedition, and he should be punished to the maximum extent of that crime.
Now let's not engage. Let's not engage with him. Let's stay over here. What I would like to do is contrast the number of New York City cops here guarding an empty City Hall, because for sure nobody's working in City Hall today.
It's Sunday.
With the number of police that we saw in Washington, D.C. guarding the Capitol.
Right.
Let's not get close to the police. Go over.
Well, okay.
You know, it's just, on the face of it, Trump authorized the use of the National Guard January 3rd.
I'm surprised they're not texting.
Yeah, donuts en route. He authorized the use of National Guard on the 3rd. The D.C. Mayor, I think, turned it down, and the D.C. police appealed to, I'm sorry for saying this, not really actually, the two bitches, Bitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi, we really need the National Guard, and they were turned down.
Not only that, Nancy Pelosi is essentially the mayor of the Capitol Police, and they were stood down.
Right.
They definitely didn't have an adequate force to protect that building.
And they had a chance. By the time we got there, they could have.
They could have still taken control of it.
Right.
Get on the radio to DC Metro, send over a riot squad right away.
Right.
Start shooting gas canisters down at that crowd and say, you know, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, you are trespassing.
Yeah.
Anyone who still remains in here in the next 10 minutes will be arrested.
Right. And do a countdown. You have 2 minutes.
I think it'll be less windy if we go down William Street there, which is, or Pine, or whatever it is.
Sure.
Which will be fun anyway to see.
There's some wireless equipment up there. I wonder what that's doing. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Hey, I didn't realize that looks like Benjamin Franklin. Or maybe we've seen that before, but I forgot. Shall we go consult with Benjamin Franklin for a moment, Charles?
We can. We can say, hey, Ben.
Does he have something to do with Pace University?
I don't know, but let's see. He lived 84 years. I didn't know that. Albert de Groot presented this to the press and printers of the city of New York in 1872. Why then, I don't know. But let's get out of the wind, if we don't mind.
Sure.
So I think we'll see what street this is. I think this is either.
Whoa! What's going on there with the Brooklyn Chop House?
You rather than eat inside, you get to eat outside. This is this Fulton Street? What is this?
I don't know. No
We're
sign.
back. We're back in the.
Привет, как дела? Everybody's going to have to learn how to say that. It's hello, how are you in Russian. I said that phrase, and like 3 years ago, and it was like, oh, how does Jason know how to speak Russian?
Well, I think everybody's going to have to learn how to say whatever you just said in Chinese.
Привет, как дела is hello, how are you? Or
how do you say it in Chinese? Is it ni hao?
Ni hao, yeah.
It's going to be ni hao. And what prison cell should I report to?
I think I need to learn how to say F you in Chinese.
Yeah.
RecycleMyToner.com, Charles. They don't look like they're doing too much business.
Removery, tattoo removal and fading.
Well,
I guess Hunter's going to have to report there. Look, they're tearing this building down.
Wow, what is that building?
Okay, yeah, this is Nassau Street. So we're going through the canyons.
Yeah, wait a minute. There's something else I wanted to ask you about, Charles, because there are so many people who have different theories about what the massive National Guard turnout in Washington, D.C. means. I think you might be aware that there have been a couple different near-Earth object kind of, near misses lately, and definitely Shepard Ambellis and John Cullen have been talking about that. There's a couple other channels that now show up in my YouTube feed, I guess, because we've spoken about that on the show. I don't know if that's true or not. We did have this news about UFO stuff from the CIA, but what is the Army going to do if there's a huge alien invasion?
Yeah, something tells me that if alien forces reach us before we reach them,
we're dead.
We're screwed. Look at this bank. This is not the stupidest bank name that I've ever heard of.
Abacus Bank?
Well, Abacus was a device, as you know, that was used before
the computer.
Yeah, well before the computer,
I thought that
do some internet banking with us using your Abacus.
Yeah.
The only one dumber than that, I think I'll remind you, I've told the story before. When I was working for the Japanese Industrial Bank of Japan, these people felt, on the basis of having no experience in mergers and acquisitions, they were going to teach us how to do mergers and acquisitions. They were going to lecture us, and everything, and you know, I just was being paid a lot of money, so I said, okay, fine. And sitting there reading the newspaper one day, and I see this announcement: number 6 manufacturing bank of Hokkaido or some crazy place herewith announces that the board of directors has decided to change its name to the Tomato Bank.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah.
Because they had the Apple Bank or something?
No, the Melon Bank.
Melon Bank.
And it had a long, huh, that's interesting.
I didn't realize they made body armor that big. That dude was fat as hell.
Yeah, is he wearing body armor?
He was a cop, he looked like it.
Yeah. Anyway, but the ad went on and on. Obviously some McKinsey or some consultant had helped them with a text, and, you know, like the Tomato Bank is neither a fruit nor a vegetable. It was just
like, this is great, we love it.
And I took this into this top Japanese guy who was working with us. What?
Joe's Pizza has moved here.
Yeah. And Loft's Candies, that's an old candy brand. Out, of course.
So you took that Tomato Bank to the thing?
I took the advertisement into this guy, Shinji is his name, and I said, Shinji, what the hell is this? And he said, oh, Charles, it's sheer genius. I said, what are you talking about? Well, every time we change the name of something in Japan, we get more customers. And I was thinking, but didn't say, so what you want is you want the stupidest customers you could possibly find. I mean, there is no bank in America that was named after a fruit or a vegetable. He said, yes, there was, the Melon Bank. I said, Shinji, please.
That's the Carnegie Mellon guy,
Carnegie
right?
Mellon, yeah. Like really super rich people, a lot of money, former Secretary of the Treasury kind of people.
Maybe there's somebody out there, Mr. Tomato. It's actually Mr. Tomato.
That's right. Oh man, bad names.
Yeah.
That could be a whole Jeopardy. We never got around to doing the Jeopardy show. By the way,
I had a good plan for that.
we're living it.
Yeah, we're in Jeopardy, right?
But we should reveal to our viewers that if the count is accurate.
Oh yeah, this is the 300th show.
Right. So, and I know that our cousin Steve Bannon, I'm saying that cousin. In arms or cousin in whatever, in controversy. But anyway, he brags constantly. He claims he's the biggest podcast in politics on the internet. I don't know if that's true.
Biggest podcast in his own mind.
Well, he cites statistics and he says he's got 28 million downloads, and
I'm sure he does have quite a lot.
But I think you have more than 29 million views for all your podcasts. I don't know if it's equivalent to a download.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same really. It's YouTube and they're suppressing the hell out of it. I mean,
right, but even suppressed, you have that volume. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate everybody who watches, and I super appreciate people who have become sponsors. The show wouldn't be able to continue, so I don't really understand people who want to watch the show and don't become sponsors, except for obviously people who aren't in the financial position to do it.
Here,
that boarded up place is open, Charles.
It's really, I mean, but what place are they talking about? Or we accept the following insurances, the nail shop. I mean, let's figure out what place is open.
I think you got to go to the left.
A wise man inclines himself to the right, Jason. That's in the Bible.
Right. Well, this is wanting you to go. Oh, here, it's right here.
It is open, whatever
it's
it is.
selling lighters, so that's perfect.
And other smoking, you got the smoking things, and you've got the candy to cover up the smoking smell.
Smart Indian cuisine.
Smart Indian cuisine?
So you got the stupid Indian cuisine. Oh, well, not that smart.
You could stay at the Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
Get some Indian food from the Smart Indian Cuisine, please. Now this is Chase Manhattan Plaza. And this, when I got here in June of 1980, this was actually
they're renaming it.
What?
They chase all the businesses out, Manhattan Plaza.
Right over here.
So when you first started working here?
When I first, business and Wall Street in the before let's say the 70s, was conducted pretty much exclusively down here. Yeah, a lot of Starbucks this one's out, but there was an announcement I saw that a whole bunch of Starbucks below 110th Street in Manhattan are shut until after the inauguration. Why, I don't know, but
after the inauguration?
Until after, yeah.
What the hell is that about? That sounds like they know that something's being planned, Charles.
I guess.
I'm telling you, I think some of these social engineers that I've been talking about for 4 years are an online arm of Antifa who are providing, you know, interference against people like you and I.
Could be.
And just another quick side note along the lines of Kaizen, I think that the fix to the sound problem might have been as simple as replacing the digital audio cable, which I did.
Huh. Who suggested that?
Was it you?
It might have been.
I don't remember that.
I know you wouldn't. I'm just trying to angle for another production credit.
Well, I had a more complicated cable replacement idea, but we'll go into details on that.
This is, I forget what this is.
It's a hell of a door there, Charles.
Yeah, that's a door that says, get the hell out of here.
I've also made a number of adjustments to the audio recorder that are hopefully giving people a superior audio experience today to go with our full 1080p video. I hope people are liking that and give me some feedback. There's a lot of people who are saying they didn't like the audio, but then when I asked them what the problem was, they wouldn't explain. So I think they were just agitated.
Just don't like things. Yeah. I don't like it. All right, fine, don't like it. So here's the Manhattan restaurant.
DC on lockdown, according to Right Side Broadcasting. What does that mean?
Well, it is. I mean, Sean Spicer's been reporting on there are checkpoints everywhere. You're repeatedly asked to show your papers. Cars are stopped.
Bethany Blaze says David Hawkins is a social engineer. Feel free to email evidence you have to support that claim to truth@crowdsourcethetruth.org. I don't believe that's correct. I think he's an honest guy doing his best.
So this is William Street.
What is that bizarre sculpture? Have we discussed that before?
No clue.
Hey, look at this NYPD traffic van. I've not seen
with nobody in it,
type of vehicle for the traffic cops.
So this area was sort of Insurance Road. AIG was down here, still is down here.
John Cullen says that was the Federal Reserve we just walked by.
Yeah, I think that is true. I dropped the current chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jay Powell. I had access to a chauffeur-driven Mercedes when I had this job, and so we palled around, and I dropped him to a meeting there when he was Assistant Secretary of the Treasury once.
Resistant Secretary of the Treasury?
No, Jay is a really good guy. Assistant. Then he became Undersecretary. It's a big job, domestic.
There's another moving truck, Charles.
Appropriately named J.D. Carton and Son. But yeah, so here's Pine Street, the intersection of Pine and William. And we've been here. We came a different way when we did this the first time, but
remarkable lack of people here.
Right. So we'll just go.
Carton out of New York.
It's pronounced carton.
Carton everything away.
The AIG's headquarters is right down here, 85. I think is the address. And in May of 2008, I remember having a meeting with the top guy at AIG in charge of credit in his office, explaining that GE was going to blow up, and he nearly had a heart attack.
Why?
Because they had
reinsurance or something.
Well, now they've eliminated. I have saved the print that was used for the cover of the Dillon Read Annual Review that had Dillon Read up here in our distinctive script, and there's only one copy of this print, and I have it.
Wow.
This used to. It looks like shit now, but in the day, this was a private entrance which would take you right up to Dillon Read, to the partners floor, where you fling open the door and you'd be greeted by two people, and I forget if they wore tuxedos or just dark suits, and they knew everybody. You couldn't get in without being pre-cleared, so they knew everybody's name. They knew when they'd been there before, if they'd been there before. It was really old school, and that was when I reported to work on June 9th, 1980. That's where I threw that door.
A much younger Charles.
Well, yeah.
Time is a weird thing, huh? You think back to 1980. I got to tell you, Charles, my whole entire life I've had a very optimistic outlook toward the future, enthusiasm for every next day, and I still have that, but I've got an apprehension
Sure.
that's been building over the past year.
I agree. And then the actual entrance for everyone else was in 48 Wall there. I guess let's just walk up Wall Street.
Sure.
Show people Wall Street.
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Oh
This
yeah, MLK Day.
Tomorrow. And here we see the Trump building.
Huh. Oh, is that why they have this here?
No, this is the New York Stock Exchange. This is we're at Wall Street. Just New York Stock Exchange is right over there.
So what do you think about de Blasio? I mean, again,
What do I think about de Blasio? I'll give you a quick answer.
Well,
no.
Specifically, him.
Oh, look, here's
sounds
a
like a protest. But him specifically shutting down the city doing business with Donald Trump.
It's outrageous.
But not saying, first of all, not allowing any evidence or defense of the accusation that he incited the riot, particularly when we have all this evidence that this other individual did.
Let's cross the street, because I think they're on the steps of there, just in case they're looking for a fight. We'll have a little bit of space. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. That's basically it. I mean, you know, he's saying, you know, the city wasn't able to maintain the Central Park carousel or ice skating rink without Donald Trump, so perhaps it'll fall back into disrepair.
What I'm reminded of an experience I had trying to explain to a drunk member of the Walton family in the Bahamas some different investment ideas, and each investment idea I'd come up with, you know, what do you think about an Irish private equity fund? And she would do this, you know.
What was it?
Just make the fart sound with her hands.
That's the meaning?
Well, it was at a bar and she was shit-faced. She's the one who killed somebody, I think, twice in a car accident, two different things. Now, what is this?
I know about that.
Believe in the Lord. Well, maybe this is peaceful. Believe in the, what does that say? The Lord Jesus. Okay, well maybe we're not going to get bricks thrown at us from here. So, Jason, it's the New York Stock Exchange. Generally, they have a tent to get in. I guess they've taken it away. And so when I would go and do CNBC hits on the floor of the stock exchange with Maria Bartiromo and other people, you come in here. The exchange was very, very small, actually. It's much smaller than you think. And you were crammed into this little booth, and you do your stuff and you come out. When I first started doing it, the security wasn't that bad, but then it got really tight. What? Let's go this way. That's right. There used to be a good steakhouse down there. This building here is a building where I think JP Morgan had an apartment in the penthouse up there. You can see how the penthouse is beautiful. That may be wrong, but let's keep going this way.
Sure.
But when I started in 1980, all these streets had cars bustling around, and bike messengers, and there was no security like there is now. Notwithstanding the fact, actually, if you turn around for a second, that building there is 23 Wall, and that was JP Morgan's headquarters. And in the 1900s, you can still see on the side of the building, not now, the anarchists tried to blow up the building.
Whoa.
And they succeeded in chipping out bits and pieces of the building, which have never, to my knowledge, been repaired.
Wow.
So let's...
It's odd that they wouldn't repair it.
Yeah. Lazy.
Oops.
Yeah, it's... I remember as well in 81, my ex-wife Clarissa was working at Salomon Brothers, and I was working at Dillon Reed, and we were obviously just starting out. And she gets a memo from Salomon Brothers saying that these zero coupon bonds were coming out that had basically an implicit yield of 14 or 15% over 10 or 30 years, I forget which. And the memo comes down from on high that employees are not allowed to buy cash purchase price amounts more than $100,000 of that. And I looked at Clarissa, we were making like $36,000 a year and had to pay each and had to pay rent. We didn't have that kind of money, but had you put $100,000 at price into those bonds and kept them for 30 years, you'd be one happy camper.
Someone here is saying, trust Barr, he gots the sealed indictments. I think unless that person is kidding, if you are still on the trust the plan, you're not really,
you're on a different plan.
Yeah, I don't see how that's viable. I mean, it's one thing to say, you know what?
So we'll go.
I hope that this infinitesimally small
bullet
chance
hole
that something good happens will happen, but I can't possibly imagine that this is the plan.
Right. So we are now we're going to walk by the park where the Occupy Wall Street protests happened a long time ago. Did we ever come down here during a protest?
Not during an Occupy Wall Street protest. I was very much not involved at that point. I was still in LA making 3D movies.
Yeah. Talk about a motley crew. People who would show up.
Isn't it really a lot of the same people as Antifa?
Even wilder people. I mean, people in very colorful, crazy costumes and all sorts of different perspectives. But it was interesting to see. I think Occupy Wall Street really took off in around 2000, was it 11 or thereabouts? Something like that.
I don't know.
Maybe people will know. And this is this Trinity Church? Yeah. Famous church. Magically or miraculously not really hurt by World Trade Center falling down around it.
Which we're pretty close to right now.
We are.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
What?
What's with the porta potties in the cemetery?
Zombies have to, zombies have to do their business.
Huh. I mean, that's strange, isn't it?
I think so. It says rent a throne.
Rent a throne.
And speaking of thrones, did you see the rumors on the internet that Hillary Clinton is going to move to South Carolina?
No, why would she do that?
I don't know. The National Enquirer has stories about Bill and Hillary finally getting divorced. National Enquirer. Actually, it's more entertaining by far and more accurate by far than the New York Slimes.
What's the point in them getting divorced now? Why not just like live apart and keep the legal?
According to the Enquirer, Chelsea, the genius, feels that Hillary, so long as she remains married to Bill, can't stand as an exemplar of women's rights.
Chelsea said that?
Well, that's what the Enquirer was reporting.
She wants her parents to get divorced?
So that Hillary can be the feminist icon that she deserves to be. And I mean, that ship sailed around the time of the Mayflower. I mean, there's no way Hillary Clinton could say, I remained married to Bill for 50 plus years, letting him cheat on me.
Right.
But now.
Yeah. Oh. Charles, look at that. The hand sanitizer on the side of a garbage can in New York City. That seems great.
Talking about buying alcohol, right?
That's the
Buy a gift card.
Well, someone's got to pay for that.
You got to have your priorities straight. If you want to buy your alcohol, you should be using hand sanitizer. Maybe not drinking it.
This guy's like drag racing down the street here.
Yeah. So should we go up that street, or do you think that's too windy?
No, it's fine. Now, yeah, this we were at. It was closed off the last time we were here.
Go through diagonal here. Yeah, there was some protest, and they shut it down. The cops weren't having none of it.
There was a fence around it.
Yeah. Careful, the steps are a little bit uneven.
The way it's designed, I mean, people trip on that all the time.
This guy's, come on. He's driving around in like a...
It's a Camaro.
Is it? Now,
done something to the exhaust, I would think. It sounds weird.
It's a little on the cold side here, right?
It's getting colder, yeah.
So, I don't understand somebody would say, you know what, it's 4:10, 4:15. I think I'll sit out in the park, freeze the rest of my ass off.
Well, I guess a lot of people are spending so much time indoors, you know, the escape from that is going to be different for everybody.
I got a gig for Bill Clinton.
Italy?
No. He can be the spokesperson for infidelity investments.
That's good. Wow. The car's pretty smashed.
Who is?
The front of it, and it's all taped up. Yeah, I guess it's just going to be real windy over here.
Yeah, maybe we go back
to the water.
Let's go back that way then.
Sure.
We can go up a different. We'll get away from the water and maybe.
Let's see what people watching are feeling right now, Charles.
Are there any news flashes?
What do you think about, well, news flashes. So what do you think about Lynn Wood and everything that's gone on with that whole contingent of people?
Well,
Mike Lindell over at the White House.
Yeah, I mean.
Hey, FINRA is in there.
Yep.
And Aon.
Right. So, Lynn Wood has a long storied career. He is an expert on defamation. He has won some important cases over many years. He has some net worth. Therefore, he has financial exposure and credibility risks. I'm aware of certain recent interviews he's done where he's doubling and tripling and quadrupling down, saying just be patient. But
waiting for the sun to dry up? I mean, what's the patience?
I don't know.
Didn't this used to be Century 21?
Actually, it used to be Brooks Brothers as well. I don't know about Century 21. That's sad that Modell's is out.
So the whole place has gone out of business, every one of their, since 1889, and now it's all gone.
Yep. They have to change the signage.
That was definitely the pandemic, because they were all over the city before.
Yeah, and actually, I forget which Modell it was.
Oh, there's Century 21.
And not to mention Satori Laser and Perfect Brows.
Huh.
What?
Wow, look, Century 21 looks pretty messed up and closed.
Look at the top of that brownstone we're building.
Not good.
Yeah, it doesn't look structurally all that sound.
More vibration in the handle of this.
Yeah, but the Dunkin' Donuts is open. That's good. So if you're living, let's say, in, I don't know, in Bali or in Lombok, Indonesia, then you're hanging around, enjoying sunshine, the beach, fresh air, fresh seafood, beautiful scenery, camaraderie. What you really want to do is stop living for $1,000 a month in paradise and come to frigid New York, where before long you're going to have to live on the streets. You have to pay for the privilege of living on the streets because everyone's catching COVID indoors. So you say, but you better go outdoors. But you still have to pay your rent or for your housing. And then follow the edicts of Dr. Frankenstein, Fauci, and Dr. Scarf-wearing Birx, and Mr. Nipple Ring Cuomo, and DeCrazio. Do that instead of really enjoying life the way I'm told from our good friend Michael Smith. Indonesia is fantastic right now.
Well, I've heard that.
I've been there.
Charles, somebody, one of our viewers sent me an email talking about something that I did not previously know about that I wanted to ask you about.
Sure.
Talking about this bizarre dedication to the 17th letter of the alphabet and everybody who still wants to trust the plan, even though we're staring down the barrel of the abyss. So apparently the Bolsheviks in the 1920s had something called Operation Trust, where members of the Soviet Communist Party faked a, like a fight where their key guy broke away and was exiled from their party and started this opposition party.
Right.
But it was just all a ruse or a feint, as you might say, to gain the trust of people who were the actual opposition party to the communists. And the person who sent it to me said, this is remarkably similar to QAnon, which I agree with.
Could be. I don't really follow that stuff very closely, but
just the idea of having someone who appears as, okay, he's cast out, And that someone would be, in this particular scenario,
Flynn.
Michael Flynn, cast out of the Democrats, cast out of Obama's favor,
Right.
presented as a hero to supporters of Donald Trump. And what if he's been there the whole time to just prevent any opposition to Obama, infiltrate the Donald Trump movement, and ruin it?
We'll just have to see on that one. I mean, I don't really focus on that kind of stuff closely, so it's certainly possible. If we survive the coming week, I think we'll have our answer by Wednesday, right? We're either we will know, as you say in the poster, as the art department says, that this is a Trumpocalypse, and Trump, in the final moments, destroys the Republican Party, destroys conservatism, destroys the interest of any rich person to try to change and fight the deep state, or he does have some magical, excellent plan that he will reveal in the last instant. We're going to know.
That bus was number 33. But yeah, I mean, we're either looking at the most epic flameout in history,
Right.
or the most profound victory in history.
Right. Right. So I'd rather not. I mean, rather than guess, I'd just like to
Wait and see.
Yeah, but I would say that I'm not a fan. We've talked about this over the several years now. I engage with people using my real name. That's the way I think. If you have the courage of your convictions, you should believe, up until now, that you have the protection. Everyone is protected by the Constitution and by the traditions that have grown up and precedents that have been set, to espouse opinions using facts, ideally, and arguments that make sense and logic, and build your case for whatever you want to prove. You don't need to do that, I don't think. You didn't need to do that until Osama bin Dorsey canceled Trump on Twitter. You had the right to just use your name and say what you want to say. Now we see the selective enforcement where you want to crowdsource the truth or spread the truth. You're screwed because the oligarchs don't want the truth to come out.
Correct.
So again, I'm surprised. Donald Trump made issues in his presidency, made big deals over small issues. I mean, big hissy fits about crowd sizing the inauguration and stuff like that.
And nothing about this.
Yeah, this is a far bigger deal. Now remember, this is where we met early on once on one of the walkarounds, and they hijacked your. We were waiting down there. They hijacked your one of the Wi-Fi services. Hijacked you. But I suggest we could with it.
Sure.
Rather than unless you want to go down the.
I've turned off the thing that would allow that Wi-Fi problem to happen.
Do you have any issues with T-Mobile you want to address?
I don't think so. We're going strong right now, and I have a new recovery mode that worked once during this broadcast. So, and also, if there's any fatal disruption to the broadcast, people will be able to see the director's cut on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. There was another viewer email, Charles, that I wanted to share with you from Rex.
Rex?
Well,
Imperator Rex?
The guy's first name is Rex. So he was talking about the number of voters in Georgia and the number of votes tallied in Georgia. And he wrote me a very detailed email that indicated that he had clearly researched it quite a bit.
Right.
And I agreed with what he was saying. I mean, this seemed to me like a very tangible, this is, you bring that evidence, that information into court, and either it's correct or incorrect. And if what Rex has pointed out is correct, many more votes were tallied than people who are eligible to vote in those counties. And that's just a prima facie indicator of fraud. So my question again is, why did we have Sidney Powell and so many people so focused on Hammer and scorecard and all this esoteric, idiotic crap, when we could have just said, look, here's the legal case. We've got this, thing that changed the way they did it with the legislature or the Secretary of State. They're not allowed to do that. We've got this thing where there's more voters than there supposed to be. They're not allowed to do that. Instead, they had all this crazy stuff with terrible affidavits, and now there's this $1 billion lawsuit against Sidney Powell from Dominion. We don't know if that's a real lawsuit. That could be the same kind of lawsuit where Robert David Steele sues me for $18 million, hoping and thinking I'll just go away. And that's designed to wrap the whole thing up, make Sidney Powell look crazy, and have it all stop. So why didn't Trump, focus on? They're saying, Lindsey Graham this morning on, I think Maria Bartiromo, was saying that, reiterating this idea that Mike Pence doesn't have the ability to overturn the election. Nobody was asking him to overturn the election. He was asking him to just not accept electors from jurisdictions where there were contested electors. He could have done that.
Well, it's a classic, the classic dissembling crowd management approach, where you use a phrase that sounds reasonable. You say, all we're trying to do here is to bend the curve,
right?
Or flat. What is it? Stop the spread, or
flatten the
oh,
curve.
Okay, that sounds fine. Stop the spread. I'm not going to put cream cheese on my bagel. I'm talking about COVID. We want to stop that.
It's the political equivalent of, can I come up to your apartment to use the bathroom?
Right, exactly.
After a date.
Exactly.
Oh, I guess that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so Lindsey Graham, in my view, is, the notion that frankly, idiot, I think he is an idiot, would have decided to run for president.
Lindsey Graham?
He ran in the primaries against Trump, remember?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he had given Trump his cell phone number. Remember, he famously smashed his cell phone, the cell phone that had the number that Trump...
I forgot that.
Yeah, I would say he didn't run, he minced. He didn't really do
So why
something.
would Trump ever trust that guy again? There are various social engineers emailing me helpful information now, and they're like, I'm not your enemy. It's like, why does anybody like that think I would ever trust them?
I don't know.
And why would Trump trust Lindsey Graham?
Well, I think there's an element. Trump is somebody who likes to have his ego stroked. Obviously, his name's on everything. And so that's a defect in the man, frankly, that he's prone to flattery and not skeptical enough, frankly.
I hope he pulls a magic rabbit out of a hat, Charles, but again, looking at the evidence that I see,
right,
it feels like he's just walking out the back door pissed off, and that's it.
Well, they're saying in these various reports, I think I see it on Axios or Politico or something, that not only is he not going to the inauguration, there's a long-standing tradition that the outgoing president writes a letter to the incoming president that's confidential and puts it in the Resolute desk there.
He's writing F you.
No, he's doing nothing, and he's not going to talk to him.
Good.
So, to have, there's just such a disconnect between this decision, which is certainly epic, and the failure to present the evidence for us to grasp. It's not like it's taken us a tremendous amount of time to figure out the Clinton Foundation, which was pretty complicated, and explain it to people. On that score, actually, on my Twitter feed, I got a very interesting thing that I had not seen before. An email to John Podesta, you can look on my Twitter feed, dated March 18th, 2015, from somebody saying, very disturbing to see these allegations about the Clinton Foundation, and they could sink Hillary Clinton's chances.
About what you're doing?
Well, it doesn't mention me specifically, but I had two articles in Breitbart on March 16th. One with so many red flags, why isn't the IRS auditing the Clinton Foundation, and the other about Teneo and Doug Band, and Teneo damaging the Clinton brand. So perhaps it was referring to me, but
wow.
As of this moment, I think we can confirm there still is no, let's just wait a second here. There's no D-class as yet. I did see a 3-page summary version from John Ratcliffe.
Summary of what?
Of this report that he was supposed to give on whether China interfered in the election. And it was only 3 pages long, and it had been finished January 7th.
It just said, yes, they did.
Well,
1 word per page.
Apparently, yes, we can. Yes, they can, and they did.
Hang on.
Yeah. Sorry, you going? Whoa, sorry.
Just going wherever we can go to get right in your way.
Right. So,
someone says, would you try to be friends with your mother? Right.
What are you talking about? My mother passed away in 2004.
Mugger.
Oh, Mugger.
And that's just it. He's done them dirty, and why would he be friends with him? They're not letting him show the evidence. I mean, it's just so...
But he is the President of the United States. Yeah, I see. And that's what I don't understand. I mean, he had, as President of the United States, you see that the Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, we should call her the blatherer of the House, and
the booze hound of the House.
The soon-to-be rat of the Senate, Schumer, and Schiff, and all these people, they, whatever their actual authority is, they'll say, well, I'll take that authority and like a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And here's Donald Trump, President of the United States, like not throwing down. Now maybe he will tonight, maybe he'll make us all look stupid by
I hope so.
Coming up with this ingenious plan.
I'm not saying he's lost, he's done. I'm just saying the evidence I see doesn't give me confidence.
Now, do you think these shoes are used in making these burritos?
I don't know. I think those shoes are made for walking.
Shoes are made for kicking.
These boots were made for stomping. Well, Charles, my foray into the world of Kaizen seems to have benefited today's broadcast.
Good.
Improved audio and video quality.
Great.
Longer battery life.
Good.
I've tried to address every area here.
Could you fix it up so that the cameras actually also make us cups of coffee or milk chocolate and stuff? Or no? Can't do that?
No.
Okay.
I don't have that capability.
Yeah.
No, wait, it is New York SIF. That's the state insurance fund. I used to always get audited by them.
Really?
It was such a pain in the ass when I was running 21st Century 3D to fill that out. It was so much work. That was one of the things I hated about it.
20th Century 3D?
21st Century 3D, I just had to do all this paperwork with the state insurance fund and, you know, getting audited by the employment, whatever, and health insurance for everybody. It was a pain in the ass. Some people send me emails and they're like, hey, you know, like they think they're calling like the customer service department of Crowdsource the Truth, and it's like, it's just me, nobody else.
Oh, Jason, come on. You got 1,500 employees. Right? Now here's your favorite building.
All right. That's 33 Thomas. No. What do you think of that guy right there, Charles?
I just think he's standing on the street. So this is Church
He's
Street.
really interested in us.
Well, I don't think he was just on the phone wondering why we stopped right next to him. I hope.
I don't know.
So not too much activity down here, but every street needs to have a ditch in it. See this here?
Right.
Hey, look at this. What the hell are these idiots doing?
It's a good question.
I mean, in China, when I don't like China because they use slave labor.
But they build a bridge in like 2 days.
Yeah, they just get the job done. Here it's like, oh, well, okay, let's make our lives miserable for as long as possible so we can charge people overtime to make a mess of the city. Look at this.
I remember I went to see...
Jason, do you want some garbage?
What's the guy's name who sent emails to his girlfriend when he was like the head of the CIA? Petraeus?
David Petraeus.
So I went to see that jackass talk at the 97th Street Y, and he was talking about that, how they had, through a satellite or whatever, they saw that the Chinese built a bridge in 2 days that was, you know, crossing a thing bigger than the Charles River or something like that. And so instead of saying, hey, we need to improve our efficiency so we can compete more effectively, he said, well, we got to destroy China.
Well, going back then to the subject of emails and the subject of the D-class, which we weren't exactly talking about, but we'll go back there for a second.
Sure.
We are supposedly, according to John Solomon, going to finally see declassed information, 1 foot to 1.5 foot of documents, which may not matter much given the fact that Trump may be out of there. But nonetheless, we're going to see him. And what I think they're going to show is that virtually everything the mainstream media told us about Trump and Hillary and Russia hoax and all this is just complete garbage. And
just in time for no one to care.
Right. Well, historians might care. Now we have a choice, Jason.
Just in time for it to do nothing.
Let's keep going this way because maybe it'll be less windy than if we go that way. But
I don't know, is this some kind of communist ad? What is this?
that is an old...
Selling overalls and coveralls and face masks at the OK Uniform Company.
Which doesn't appear to be very active.
Not okay. It's the
Used to be
not
okay.
Uniform Company. Now that is an impressive dog garment. I didn't get to see it, but it was almost like a fur-lined jacket.
Oh, dog jacket.
Yeah.
You weren't Jones and the dog.
What's this license plate here? Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
It's odd, huh?
We steal ballots too. That's their state model.
Right. I like that place, the Roxy over there, Charles. It's a hotel.
Have you been
I've
in
never
there?
been into the hotel. I've been to the restaurant. I've never been into the hotel part of it, but the restaurant has very good food, and they have live music,
Really?
like a jazz trio, which I know you hate.
Yeah, cross
And
that
there's
off
a
the list.
Movie theater downstairs and a pool table in there, and it's kind of a nice spot to just chill out. And
This whole area has
a
actually
meal.
been fixed up a lot in the last 10 years. That over there.
you know something? This Audi looks remarkably like the Lamborghini SUV. I have a feeling they're probably the same.
Careful you don't
A
trip.
lot of stuff out of business over here.
Yep. You want to sit down for a nice cold one?
Just
In the
sitting
cold?
in there in the cold, you mean? Yeah, not really.
Surprised they haven't forced people to change the name of this street.
What is it called? A White Street? White Privilege Street?
White Privilege Street. There used to be, I don't think, Petrarca, was that the, there used to be some very good restaurants in here.
I don't know.
Oh, let there be neon, Jason. You could get a Crowdsource the Truth neon sign.
Is that a neon sign store?
Could be.
Looks like people are doing business in there. Yeah, in the middle of the pandemic, what I really need is a neon sign.
And you negotiate, you know, you really get into it and like negotiate the terms, the conditions, the colors. I don't want banana yellow. I want lemon yellow. Do you think lemon yellow goes well with navy blue, or should it be pale blue?
It pales by comparison.
But so people invested a fair amount of money, I think, to try to make this place look better than it used to look, which was butt ugly. And now there's no foot traffic.
Sorry, Charles, we got a question here from the comments. People want to know what you think about David, or what's his name? De Rothschild, who just died.
Edmond or Guy de Rothschild. I don't know the specifics. He was pretty young, only 57.
Yeah. Mud Club was on Wall Street, John Cohen says. What does that mean?
The what?
The Mud Club.
Well, I don't know anything about a mud club.
Nancy suggests they could change it to Racist Street.
KKK Street.
That'd definitely be popular.
Yeah.
Apartment values would soar.
Oh, you'd
Now-
probably call it KKK Court, spelled with a K.
Charles, this is interesting. There's a growing number of outdoor restaurant huts that are, wow, look at that. These guys were grilling out. You don't really often see that. But they're all empty now. It's almost as if these guys gave it a shot and couldn't cut it, and now they've had to close the hut section.
But they don't really leave them closed. As a guest, the people who sleep on the street come in here. I've seen people asleep at, say, 7 o'clock in the morning in the equivalent of...
Well, it's better than nothing. And I mean, certainly if it's Sunday, you know,
Sunday.
close to 5 o'clock, you would think that restaurants like that would be getting ready for dinner for people.
Right, Sunday with hut, not Sunday with Charles. Sunday in hut.
Sunday in a hut.
Here we have a large post office.
So someone else put up a picture of the Capitol grounds there that we were at just a little over a week ago.
All right.
That's now been all done up for the Joe Biden coronation.
Yeah, Baghdad, green zone.
It's just so upsetting, Charles.
Well, it really is. If you had any, you know, what's amazing is when I watch, which I haven't done in quite a while, but when you watch Jake Tapper or Cole Wallace or these know-it-alls contrast their brilliant ideas with the utter disgust they show about anything Trump might have to say or whatever, and the people who follow Trump are just lost their minds, unlike them. And
concentration camps they want.
Yeah, let's well, this way.
Sure.
And you just look at some basic facts here. Add up the estimated attendance.
Why are these guys all going through the light?
Well, they have the light, we don't.
But that says walk.
Okay. We go this way.
Oh, whoa.
What?
More Oddfellows graffiti.
Oh. That looks to me like Simpsons.
No, the eye.
Right, I know, but to the right is Simpsons. You want to go this way, or you want to go...
Wherever you want to go.
Let's go up one more block and see if we can't get... What was going through contrasting the Trump campaign with the Biden campaign, the Trump record with a Biden record. So, first let's do records. Joe Biden has never made an honest penny in his life. That's a fact, right? He cannot explain how he owns all these homes. It's not because his wife inherited money. He can't explain his family wealth, his family's ill-gotten gains.
Tony Bobolinsky can explain it.
Right. Hunter Biden was under investigation while Trump was president.
Oh yeah, that's going to end, huh?
And you could say that Donald Trump was a sharp operator, but he was a guy who used his arms and legs and elbows and knees to build a real estate fortune, to build a big real estate fortune on the back of his father's reasonably sized and grandfather's reasonably sized real estate fortune. So clearly, when it comes to business and economics, Donald Trump is, let's say,
in the handle here.
Donald Trump is a nasty A, you know, because of all the fighting and lawsuits and all the rough edges, but he's an A, and Biden is an F.
Right.
Then you get to honesty. You know, sure, Trump had a series of rough relationships, previous marriages, the Billionaire Boys Club, yeah. Well, and
they have the space shuttle in there, Charles.
As a celebrity, Trump was involved in all kinds of shenanigans, of course, but he didn't run for president the first time in 1988 and say that he was top of his law school class and all this kind of stuff, and then lift key points of his speech from a labor leader in England, and then have to abandon his campaign in 1988
texting
because he admitted he was a liar. Right, this is in 1988, which, to do the math, is 33 years ago, actually. Right? Oh. So then you look at the rally sizes. And Trump actually campaigned hard in 15 and 16, and harder still in 19, 20, and continuing into early 21. Biden stayed at home. You look at crowd sizes in Biden's rallies. You look at
crowd size, the truth.
Yeah, you look at viewership of Trump things on YouTube and Biden things on
Less
YouTube.
Less than 1,000 live viewers for Biden yesterday.
Is that right for yesterday?
Or maybe Friday.
We generally get more than that, depending on the day.
Absolutely, we've got 1.5 right now, and thank you to all of our viewers.
Right. So you just look down at this, and then you say, all right, when Trump won, Hillary Clinton and Podesta and Soros and all these people got up there and said, let's exhaust every challenge. Ben Wittes and Larry Tribe and all those guys. You know, let's
hate those guys.
This is not a legitimate election. He's not our president. There were violent demonstrations at the inauguration. 200 people were arrested. They were all released.
Really?
And, yeah, it's all in the news.
Why released? Why are they released?
I don't know. But and in this case, we have somebody who has been twisting every arm in the book to force the judiciary, the regulators, the legislators, the media, etc., not to look at any evidence, to denigrate anybody who would dare contest. We have the babbling bartender AOC.
Look, Charles, indoor.
Yeah. Suggesting that we have
How are they allowed to do that?
I don't know. Technically, it's outdoors. But
except that's inside.
We have the babbling bartender saying that there needs to be a Truth and Reconciliation Council to go back and force people who contested the election to abdicate or to let's cross the street. I just don't want to get into any. What? Shit.
Whoa.
Sorry. Thank you.
Almost got hit.
Sorry. Yeah, I would have been hit first.
What is this? Slumu. This is
a celebration of slime. This is the Biden inauguration motto.
How could this be a viable business? Who's got time and money to celebrate slime?
This has probably got huge amounts of money coming from city, state, and federal government.
What is that even talking about? Celebrating slime. Anyway, sorry, you were talking about
slime.
Slime.
But you look at this. There's no way. We were down in Washington D.C. on the 5th and 6th, and we saw the lack of police protection.
Yeah.
Even though Donald Trump had tweeted out, it's going to be wild. He referred to it at rallies.
Millions expected.
Millions expected. The FBI had warnings. No serious police presence there. Now all of a sudden, for reasons that are not yet explained,
right,
to anyone's satisfaction,
military.
We need a military president.
Unprecedented.
And it sure looks to me like what they're trying to do is ram him in as president. It's not that they're trying to protect him.
Right.
They're trying to make sure that nobody stops him.
Right.
And I don't mean by violent means. They just want to make it very difficult
for anything other than what they want to happen.
Right. And I'm going to bet the next trick, if they don't declass tonight, Trump doesn't throw down tonight, is to say that we've received new credible threats. And we're going to like DEFCON 5, and therefore they're
DEFCON 1.
Whatever, 1. DEFCON Z. DEFCON ASS. We're going to go and shut DC down, and there will not be no government agency other than the military can function through the inauguration. So therefore you won't get
police or...
Well, you won't get the declassed documents.
I don't know. I don't have as much faith in these, declassified documents as everybody else does. I feel like if he was going to show them, they would have happened already, and if he shows them now, it's not going to matter. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm losing confidence, Charles.
Yeah. Well, I think there is the issue that in the case of the 15-16 election, Hillary Clinton, it is said, had 63 million votes. More than Donald Trump's 60, if rough numbers. And we all had to, she in her own mind in an alternative universe, she was the President of the United States, remember that? Here we have Donald Trump, at minimum, has 75 million votes. At minimum. We don't know how many were destroyed. And I don't think it is reasonable to assume that in this country, until you take away everybody's guns, that is to say guns owned by people who comply with the law.
Next week, you mean?
Well, I don't think they'll be able to do that.
I hope not.
But I don't think that you can rule with an iron fist the United States of America, whether it's Biden deciding, picking the colors and picking legislation and picking the priorities, or Harris. Neither one of them really has the background of accomplishment. Neither one of them has earned the confidence of many people. And we are still, like it or not, in the middle of some horrible problems. I mean, the economy still has major issues. Pockets of the country are in deep shit, like New York City.
Yeah.
We face foreign enemies. We have Iran cornered at the moment.
Sirens up there.
Yeah, let's walk towards that. So we have some pressing domestic and foreign threats. And I, for the life of me, don't understand why Biden or Harris would want to be president other than to get more Benjamins.
Stay out of jail.
Well, to get more Benjamins, right? More money. Mo money. Now here we are, by the way, and this is a fancy street. I forget the name, but we'll see it in a second. But look how many places are vacant.
Getting shocks into the handle.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it's weird though.
It's because of the police, there probably.
I think that's right. I think there's some radio the police use that does it.
Do you want to go?
No, we'll keep going and we'll see what happens. I mean, previously what it was doing is it would disrupt the function of this thing quite quickly, and it's not doing that today.
Well, there is an issue down here. I forget which hotel it is, the NOLA or the some hotel, where a young woman accused a black kid of stealing her phone, and there was a demonstration down here last night where they were trying to get the management of the hotel to discipline the employee who falsely reported the kid. So I don't know, maybe it's something to do with that.
Look at that. It's like they're going after anybody and everybody who has anything to do with anything they don't like. But then when you have tons of video evidence and a testimony from the brother that this other guy is the head of the riot and the Antifa kingpin, they say, oh, well, you know, he's a speed skater and an Uber driver and a nice activist.
Yeah.
CNN.
It's going off the air in the airports March 31.
I saw that. Why is that?
I don't know.
That seemed odd, didn't it?
I think that's one positive development. They need to
why
take
would they do that?
I don't know. I mean, they're not getting the traffic in the through the airports that they need to justify the ad rates.
It's too expensive, right?
Yeah.
No one's in the airport anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think they pay for the privilege of
having it on there.
Yeah, and they just the cost to pay for it is. Now that actually, Finelli's Cafe looked nice. This looks Lure Fish Bar.
Sounds good.
Restrooms for seated guests only. That doesn't make any sense.
You got to really aim.
Right, you sit here and you use the one. You got to do your business through the wall somehow, remaining in your seat.
Jazz, Charles.
Noise, Jason.
I like jazz.
Yeah. Some people like vanilla, some people like chocolate. I don't like jazz. It sounds the same.
Police car has got its sirens on behind. That's unusual to see.
I don't know. Lanvin is a very expensive French designing firm, and Balenciaga is a very expensive, I think, Spanish one, is it, or Italian?
Sounds Spanish.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Back in the day, these were all more or less Dolce & Gabbana. Doesn't seem to be thriving at the moment.
No.
Space for lease, Jason, if you want to move Crowdsource the Truth down here.
I don't think this is
a nice space. You can have a studio, receptionist.
It's probably $1 million and it's still in the city.
That's true. Now, I haven't not noticed this new building up here before. Going up at breakneck speed to add to the supply, the oversupply of space. Now these actual spaces are appealing until you start thinking about how expensive it is to employ people, to comply with regulation, and the fact that there's nobody walking in here. This space could be yours. Great.
He's not convincing anybody.
Yeah.
How could a digital space compete with a physical one? You got graffiti, garbage, crime, riots, no customers, high rent. It's great.
You are an optimist, Jason.
I am an optimist, but you know, when you've got someone, you know, you're trying to climb a ladder and they keep punching you in the face when you get to the top, I'm not going to keep doing it.
Why not, Jason?
It hurts.
I think, isn't this a movie theater formerly?
Angelica Film Center, yeah. Well, that's kind of like the independent, you know, if you...
Have you ever screened one of your movies here?
No, not one of mine. I mean, I've never directed an independent film. I was really more focused on
right here.
Getting hired to do films and not really being a director so much as a cinematographer and focusing on the 3D stuff. And also places like that could never really show 3D. We
could probably go.
Screenings at the Alamo Draft House in, I think that was in Austin. People will know where that is. I don't remember where it was.
Did you ever go to Cannes?
Many times. I used to go all the time.
You went up to the Clinton Foundation headquarters?
Yeah. never had anything that was in competition, but had many things that were screened there at the Marché du Film. And have sold things in Cannes.
Nice.
I don't know what it's like now. I mean, obviously
empty.
No one can actually go there, right? And
predominantly
no
empty.
one's going to the movies anymore, so I don't think the types of films that I was working on, I don't even think it's a viable business. Now it's got to be, you got to be making stuff for streaming, and you know, it's got to either have 11-year-olds naked or some kind of, you know, communist agenda, or it's not going to sell.
Yeah. So now we're coming into the backside of NYU. Right, the various, what is this place? It says NYU next to Call Ahead.
Yeah. I don't know. This wasn't anything NYU when I
Probably
was
a dorm.
here. I don't know.
I think they more or less try to buy up any real estate that they can because NYU, as you know, is a charity, so it doesn't have to pay taxes.
That's so objectionable.
Yeah.
But when you pay your tuition, it's not tax deductible, right?
No, but your gifts to the university are tax deductible.
Now, wait a minute. Why is that? If they don't have to pay tax on it because they're a charity and you're giving them money.
Because this is a very good bookstore, by the way, for used books.
I've been to the Neon store.
I only buy hardback books, but if you're ever, the Strand is much bigger, but this Mercer Street Books is really quite good. No Ho Juice Bar and Deli.
Wow, is this
That's
the
new,
NYU Kohl's Sports Center replacement? This is huge.
Could be.
Holy crap.
So this is no ladies of the evening work here. No Ho Juice Bar.
It looks pretty closed.
And boarded up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, is college also remote like
It is.
like regular
But
school?
to answer your question, your tuition is what's called a program service revenue. And so that is not deductible.
Not deductible.
And the salaries and expenses of the teachers are expenses of the charity. So the university does not have to pay a tax on the difference between tuition and its expenses, and that they would have to charge you a higher tuition. That's the argument. I actually think a lot of these charities, old universities, came about before there was an income tax. And in the olden days, the universities were just involved training at first ministers, and then eventually they got into professional schools and things like that. And I think that a professional school absolutely should be taxable.
Yeah.
And I think that professors who are also consultants and glomming off, getting consulting contracts and other directorships and economic
Due to
interests.
the fact that they're professors
Right.
at these things.
That should gut the tax deductibility of the professional school, because it's clear. You take these people, Mike Porter, who when I was at Harvard Business School wrote this book called, I think, Competitive Advantage or something like this, and he built up this big consulting company that was always in the news. He was always in the news. He was a genius. Everybody listened to every word of his.
They trade on the name.
Well, and then he went bankrupt.
Oh.
And there hasn't been a follow-up article about, if you were that smart
How did that happen?
and you were
Right.
a corporate strategy expert, did you plan to go bankrupt? I mean, did you plan to fail in this spectacular way?
really
And
bad.
why did we listen to you? Why did the students and clients listen to you? I don't know.
Oh, Charles. It's
So those are
just-
the birds. Birds are chirping.
Yeah.
Gristedes, this is your NYU Gristedes.
I never went to that Christie's. I mean, I had a lot of classes around this neighborhood, but my dorms were kind of further away from here.
Right near here, I think, weren't they? Or your dorms?
The dorms, yeah. No, the classes, this building I had classes in,
Uh-huh.
computer animation classes and other things. And 721 over there was the main film building, but
Right.
never really went to this supermarket. I mean, it looks totally closed. Why is it closed?
Rent's too high.
Intent to discontinue gas service.
It's out, pretty much.
What wouldn't, I mean, that means they just sort of left
Right.
and didn't pay. That's sort of weird. You would think Gristedes would have a more organized way of closing, and you'd also think that a supermarket wouldn't close.
Well, and it's a very small building for Gristedes. Gristedes is owned by John Katsimatidis, I think, the billionaire dude he bought WABC Radio, or Cumulus Radio, or something like that.
What do you think about Uber hiring Imran Awan and John Sullivan? It's like any seditious accused criminal go work for Uber.
I'm not a fan of Uber at all.
Me neither.
And I'm pleased I was a little nervous that what you were going to tell me is that you bought this car because you're going to become an Uber driver on the side, but
No,
yeah.
I don't want to do that. I'm leaving New York City because I want to avoid interfacing with random people
Right.
and other reasons. But people are asking where I'm going to move to. I'm sorry, I'm not going to advertise that, and I don't know yet. I got the car because I'm going on a nationwide road trip to try to figure out what the hell I'm going to do.
So you're going to go to all 200 nations, or just all states in this nation?
Nationwide.
I'm just, trying to help you clarify what
I don't know if you can drive from here
to Canada.
I don't think they'll let you in, and I don't want to live in Canada.
Yeah. With all due respect to our Canadian viewers, it's kind of bland up there.
Well, it's mostly Justin Trudeau and socialism.
And it's bland.
Canadian people are fine.
Yeah.
I like Canadian people.
The skiing is supposedly pretty good.
I've heard that Banff is very nice, and I've seen pictures of it.
Isn't that pronounced Banff?
I don't know. But it's supposed to be nice, and it looks good.
Yeah. And so here we have, this is the Stern Business School, I think, to our left, and
yep.
The stores, when this university is open, the various shops, little food stores and restaurants and knick-knack shops, I mean, the kids who go to this university in the main are well off. I mean, there are poor kids, but most of them are middle class and up kids. And their parents, like all good parents, spoil them. And so they have a lot of pocket money. A lot of foreign students, I think, at NYU.
That was a diner for the longest time, and people would just go have lunch there. So.
It's a downer now.
Now I'm surprised it's closed. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know if classes are in session.
I don't know either.
So we'll walk through a little bit through Washington Square.
Now,
dumpster.
Didn't you hear a lot of loud?
I did last night.
And I heard fireworks either last night or the night before, like a lot of explosions.
Really? Let's hope those aren't execution squads.
Well.
I mean, these crowds that get whipped up into a frenzy, they can go from chanting stupid stuff to doing really stupid and criminal stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. The brother of James Sullivan, I think his name is, who's the brother of this Antifa terrorist who incited the riot, he said there were 250 Antifa in the crowd.
Wow.
Now, that might be a low number, that might be a high number, but that's what he said.
I think that's probably close.
Yeah, I mean, easily. I think it could be more, because you and I spotted some of them.
So just yesterday, we see this intersection here? My brother and I, at about this time yesterday, were walking right here. I wanted to go that way, and he wanted to go this way, because he spotted somebody walking as a bum, and there were more people at this time yesterday. And let's go over here. And just as we got to right about here, we were here, bum was there, smoking cigarette, bum exposes crank, smoking a cigarette, and takes a gigantic leak in the sidewalk in front of all these families with kids and me and my brother. And that's not a health hazard. I should wear a mask, but you could go take a leak in the sidewalk here and that's not a problem.
And then we got all these guys with the skateboards around. I mean, that is something that they are doing that could affect other people's health negatively, that they should not be doing, that they have no right to be doing, and nobody is going up to them telling them to stop. Well, I am, but then they, threaten me physically.
Well, let's not get into it, because
I'm not going to say anything to any of them. There's this swarm of them here, and the cops aren't going to help, and we can't exercise the Second Amendment in New York.
It's got to be horrifically bad for your ankles.
That's what I mean.
And as I have a friend, I won't say who his name is, good friend from college and afterwards, who was a great squash player until he went into a squash court and there's something wrong with his sneakers or whatever, and he snapped his ankle.
Ooh.
I mean, he was in a terrible way for quite a while.
I'm sure.
We'll go that way.
Surgery, a lot of money,
pins
loss
in his
of
ankle,
work, pain for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and
loss of capability. This is what each of these idiots is risking for some person who just wants to walk through the park, which they have a right to do. These guys do not.
Right. Well, it explicitly says no skateboards allowed.
Of course it does, and it's just also obvious to anyone who's not a selfish jackass.
She's still here. The Asian lady in the mud.
Unbelievable.
Let's go down that way.
We got to defund this. What's the purpose of this guy standing there? He's texting. Let's see what he's looking at.
Let's not do that, Jason.
He's clearly not dealing with police business. I see him scrolling up.
He's on Pornhub.
He's got some Instagram crap, Facebook, Twitter, whatever he's doing. Wasting our money, wasting our time, doing nothing, protecting nobody. I'm not going to say anything to him. I'm just getting a close-up. He's gonna walk around back this way.
I'll meet you the other way.
No, he put it in his shirt.
You got it.
Yeah,
You figured out that he was under suspicion?
I don't think that happened, but
Yeah.
there's only so much tweeting you can do while you're standing there.
Yeah. And whoever is in that pink suit there, you see her on the steps of, I don't know if she lives in that brownstone or not.
I'm looking at the Christmas tree. Everybody's got their Christmas trees taken down, but de Blasio can't even get it together.
That's a light bush. It's not a Christmas tree.
Oh yeah, they're hanging out on this stoop.
They're always there. I don't know what it is. I mean, that building, if it is a private property, which it may not be, it was easily going to cost for at least 10 million, if not more. And you have it inside unless you're not paying your heat bill, which is...
Yeah, and then Con Edison's going to give you their notice of intention to shut off the gas.
So we'll take a parade down 8th Street and then I'll drop you off at
Sure.
7th and whatever. Just so you can go over old ground with some regularity so people can see the differences.
The evolution over time.
I think it's called devolution.
The devolution.
Spelled D-E-V-I-L, devolution. That was my first Jeep over there. You see that red car? It's the first one I got.
Uh-huh. I'm trying to see if we got... Robert Justice says, remember when you stated that you said you would be calm? Yes, I remember that, and I've been calm. I'm not starting any fights with anybody. I'm not even asking any questions that would allow them to start a fight with me.
Very calm. Mellow yellow. Well, there's the Le Pain Quotidien, which is not, is Le Pain never open. Not the daily bread, the never open bread.
It's hard to read the comments while I'm walking.
Let's not bother. So as usual, we'll go down that side.
Sure.
We could go, I suppose.
So the Empire State Building is nicely illuminated tonight. I think people will be able to see it when we get out from under this.
Is it also lit?
Yes. It's a little far in the distance there, but looks good.
Yeah.
So we saw some of these businesses that are opening up now, which is a strange circumstance that whoops. Now wait a minute, this is plugged into battery. Why did it die? Huh.
Dead?
I don't know. I thought maybe this battery is dead. Let me make sure. Maybe it somehow became unplugged from the battery. Whoops. We'll see. If it is dead, we're close to the end of this show. Yeah, here's Pan Quotidian closed.
Yeah.
And more of these street restaurants not really doing much of anything. That looks like the proprietor of the restaurant sitting in there quite frustrated.
Yeah, so how do you make a profit when you got no revenue? Hire McKinsey, they'll explain it.
I don't remember this being a hotel.
Yeah, it's been a hotel for a while.
I guess I never noticed that. And that has a
So you think we're still filming, or?
Yeah, no, we're definitely still rolling. This is retail for
another space for lease. Now 8th Street used to be in the 80s and 90s. It used to be chock-a-block full. That's a Steinway, I think.
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. Somebody can make a nice. Well, let's think about a caption for that. Steinway and brick wall.
Pandemic piano.
That's right.
So this going nowhere.
Yeah. The mighty Jeff Ross, the New Yorker. This place doesn't seem to, has a nice checkerboard floor, but it doesn't seem to have anything protecting you from the elements.
Well, I think they started and gave up. I don't understand what that's even doing. Now, wait a minute. These guys are kind of busy.
And they're not socially distant, are they?
I don't know.
What are they going to do next? They're going to go open up restaurants where you get to sit in a refrigerator?
I mean, they're heating up the street. Have there been any, like, propane? This looks new. This is a new restaurant.
Yeah, it does look new. This all looks new.
Yeah. I can't imagine who would be opening a restaurant right
Or
now.
who would want to go sit outside in this? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
No, and then this thing, remember, was this the place
This had just opened. Yeah, Jason, there's a look for you.
from the Matrix?
There's chain link vest
Absolutely.
with those shoes, those moon boots.
3A plus.
That's you, man. That's all
That'll
you.
stop around, Charles.
Atelier. Put a French name on it, and
Yeah,
people,
that's the store. That's
people
the shoe
still will
store.
not shop there
Nobody's
because
in there.
nobody's here. And then you can get some food at Sticky's Finger Joint.
Nobody's in there. Oh, there are 2 people in there ordering stuff.
Ordering, can I have some extra lard?
That's anomalous, that new restaurant with lots of people at it.
That is.
And on 8th Street, like this is not exactly a restaurant street.
Right. Well, it used to be actually, years ago. Junkie shops and restaurants.
There's a hybrid Porsche.
Already thinking of adding a second car?
No, I don't think so. That thing's got to cost huge.
Insurance probably more expensive than you want to think about.
My insurance was cheap, I guess.
No,
'Cause
I'm saying
old
on
now.
that Porsche.
Oh,
And I don't think if I had it, I don't think I'd be leaving it on the street. Unless I wanted it stolen. Mercedes. Gotta have a Mercedes.
there's a Rolls Royce SUV over there, Charles.
Yeah, I'm telling you. There used to be a fancy recording studio around here.
Yeah, we've spoken about it almost every time we walk
Yeah.
by.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure people have to drink a lot. That's all.
That's right.
Well, what is it? Electric Light Studio or something like that?
Electric Ladyland
Is
Studios
that what it was?
is what we've been told. Well, yeah, our survey. No, I'm now convinced that Audi SUV and the
Lamborghini.
it must be the same. Yeah, I think Audi bought Lamborghini at some point.
Did they really?
And I'm pretty sure the engine in the Audi W8 or whatever the hell it's called is a Lamborghini engine.
Isn't it an A8 or is it?
A8 maybe. Well, A8 is the sedan, and no, A10 I think it's called. Or I don't know. I can never remember the name of it. It's their fancy supercar, expensive one.
What I'm going to do, Jason, I'll tell you what. What I'm going to do is peel off this way, unless you want to go up.
Yeah, I don't mind. We'll go
Do
up that
you
way.
want to walk up the street? And it'll take you a little bit out of your way,
I
but I
don't
want
mind.
to show you something.
It's nice light on the library.
Yeah.
As
Former
usual when we get over here. Whoop.
courthouse.
See, the motion of this controller is kind of poor. There we
Huh.
go. That's the former courthouse, the library?
Yeah, Jefferson Market Courthouse. Now, where we're coming to is the base of Christopher Street. Over here. And I'm going to take you through, I'm going to show you, remember I told you about one of the largest private residences in New York? You've seen Epstein's.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to ask you if you think it's bigger or smaller. So, we're going to make a hang a Louis. We could probably go for it. That lit up establishment over there used to be a bakery called Sutter's in the 60s. And at the time, I didn't know of our connection, our family connection to Gold Country in 1849, California, but Sutter's Mill, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And it used to have the best, sticky buns and cakes and things like that, which I, of course, loved as a kid. So, Christopher Street is well known now for being lots of trendy shops, but of course retail space available. Take, for example, this footwear place, which I've never priced it, but I believe it's extremely expensive stuff.
Looks fancy.
Yeah. And it must be owned by somebody who doesn't care about making money, because I've never seen customers in it buying anything, but it would appear to have a fair amount invested in the place. And
Right.
so let's cross over here. Now, watch it. Fortunately,
That is really fast for
Yeah.
a bike.
because I had my experience falling on a subway crack earlier last year, I mean, a sidewalk crack. I tend to look down more often than most at the sidewalk just to see if there's something coming.
Yeah.
So, or something I should avoid. And right about, it's gone now, but maybe that's the spot. Right about over here, there was a rat carcass. I mean, like that big as my foot. Big rat carcass right here. Okay, here we have, this is a fancy store, another fancy store, right? Fancy silk slippers for men. And
that is fancy as hell. Who's shopping in this place?
This is Jeffrey West. I mean, it's a pretty famous store, I think.
But those shoes, I mean, come on.
So they look like spats.
I mean, this is like, unless you're Klaus Schwab going to the
Exactly,
Galactic,
that's right, exactly. So this is a kind of a rundown building and another rundown building. But this next building here is a private residence. Okay? This one here starts here. Okay? And it used to be, this is a single family home. Okay? And it used to be actually some kind of school building or a hospital building or whatever. And before that, I think it was an elementary school. But let's keep walking. You look at the width of this building.
Is stone that it's made of.
This is quite wide. And then look over here around the corner.
There's a mezuzah on it, Charles.
How far the building goes. This is a gigantic building. And it goes pretty high. In fact, let's go across the street.
Private residence?
This is a private residence. I think it's bigger than Epstein's. I could be wrong. And
who lives in there?
I don't know. People can look it up. It's on the corner of actually Waverly and Christopher. But you see, it's got a roof garden, and to put those heavy plants up there, they had a gigantic crane making that thing. And this is, I think this is far bigger than Epstein's building. I could be wrong. I know it's more expensive than the asking price. What they paid and spent on it is more than Epstein's trustees were asking for. And it's all been it's been gut renovated, probably to the highest possible standard. So we'll continue up Christopher. Careful. Just wanted to show people a different side of the village. And I'm not sure who owns Jeffrey's Grocery and that restaurant over there, Jeffrey's something.
Look at this. Who would want to eat there? This is straight in the freezing cold.
I know. This is the food is actually pretty good here, but it's expensive. And these stores have been in and out. They can't seem to be filled up.
Dog kitchen? What is that? Dog food?
Yeah, it was a pet store. So when I was a kid, I had a job in the ski store, Viking ski store. That was.
Did they make you wear a fur helmet and QAnon face paint?
No, but Viking ski may have this wrong. I think it occupied this space here, which is obviously not a ski store anymore. I may be wrong. It may have been on the other side, but it was a pretty good ski store and bike store. And then actually, I suggested they sell tennis stuff, so they let me open up a tennis division when I was like 17.
Wow.
In the store. And they'd also run these ski excursions up to Hunter Mountain, and if I helped out, I could get a free ski pass and a small amount of money. And the bus left from here at 6 o'clock in the morning. So January, February, I was a little bit, I don't know, sleep deprived or whatever, and I came out here thinking it was 5:45 with my ski outfit and my skis and my boots and my poles. And I'm standing here waiting for the bus. And the people are looking at me like, what are you doing out here? It was 3:45, not 5:45.
Wow. So you were early as usual.
But this is not a smart place for a 17-year-old boy at 3:45 on a
Charles, there's been a big deal made out of these kind of decorative socks. There was apparently some viral video of
H.W. Bush wears them.
Well, that I did not know, but that's interesting because I know a lot of people say that Justin Trudeau wears them, and then now I just saw over the weekend there's some viral video about Kamala Harris's socks.
Oh, okay.
What the hell is up with the
Well,
socks?
I think
Now, wait a minute. Hang on a second. This is the first restaurant I've seen that has entirely closed the sidewalk.
Well, it's got the streets closed off.
I see.
Yeah.
And
And
here's another one of these
so
dog stores.
across the way, Jason, see that building there, the 6-story building?
Yes.
That's the building I referred to that was owned by friends, is owned by friends of my family. And this is the famous Vest Pocket Park where the father of my friend was out drinking, and I think this did not, it was called something other than the Stonewall Inn. I forget the name of it, but he was out drinking with these famous actors he knew, stumbles into the park, and there's a dog yapping, a poodle. And he tells this lady, you know, if that dog doesn't stop yapping, I'm going to bite it. And he did.
Man bites dog.
Well, and there was a New York Post photographer right there. They take a picture of him. He's on, like in the New York Post.
That's so weird.
Well, it's not weird because it was a famous watering hole. I forget who the various and sundry people were who were in it. But this, yeah, they now call this the Stonewall Inn. But my recollection is that the original Stonewall Inn was further west. Could be wrong. And for those,
Wasn't it on the corner?
further up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they moved it, I guess.
Right to here.
I really object to them closing the sidewalk. Why are they allowed to do that?
I don't know. Rank hath its privileges. And this, the Kettle of Fish bar is famous
Yeah.
for,
wow.
this is, what's the football team out there in?
Green Bay Packers.
There you go. This is a Green Bay Packers bar.
Great.
Right?
Wow.
Yes, yep, we're a
Yeah.
Packers bar.
Are you guys from Wisconsin? It sounds like it.
Liz and the owner.
So you like cheese?
You're the owner?
No.
You have one of those cheese heads? You do?
He's one of the
The
owners.
kettle was also,
Great.
it's been around since 1950.
Wow.
Not in this spot, over on the Google Street.
Oh, nice.
This famous picture of Jack Kerouac in front of the New York bar sign. That's the kettle.
Uh-huh.
And then it moved into this is the,
Nice.
thought
Good
I'd
luck.
fill you in on that.
Thank you.
Full pack one.
We good?
Yep. I was just trying to get audio on that woman when she was speaking to you. I didn't know all that about the Green Bay Packers and
There you
Kettle of
go.
Fish.
So I'm gonna, if it's all right, I'll leave you here
Yeah, that's fine.
and get home safely, I hope.
Yes. And then
And-
what about these little mini? I guess that didn't go over so well because it looks like they're not utilizing them anymore.
Yeah, they don't seem to be working too well.
Well, it's just a stupid idea.
I know.
It's about as stupid as it could be.
I also would have thought that there's a certain amount of protection if you know, let's say a car sideswipes another car and goes into the side of the building, you'll be safe inside the building. But if you're in this hut and somebody loses control, I mean, you're.
I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. There's certain restaurants that have people out in the street.
Right.
All right, Charles. Well, that was another excellent tour around the city. I hope that people will become sponsors. I'm going to be traveling around, so your sponsorship is going to be more important than ever. Visit subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And I'll see you.